Redskins Postgame Live, presented by Geico and by your Washington, D.C. area GMC dealers.
Well, the Washington Redskins in overtime fall to the New York Giants. The Giants are now 10-13 in their last trips to FedEx Field. It's the final game at home of the 2019 season. The Washington Redskins looking to break a losing streak in the division in the NFC East. Did not get that done today. Saquon Barkley had himself a day. Daniel Jones had himself a day. Dwayne Haskins Jr. did as well, but unfortunately he left early to injury. You see, the first play out of the second half in that third quarter, he gets sacked for a loss, is on the field. He gets carted off, but does come back out later on with his ankle heavily wrapped up to join his teammates in what could have been a comeback victory, but unfortunately, it is Big Blue that is heading back to New Jersey with the win. As we welcome you into Redskins Postgame Live, Julie Donaldson, Brian Mitchell, Santana Moss, Trevor Matich. We have a good bit of burgundy and gold out here because there's been a lot to cheer for at the end of the season, despite the record. Both teams coming in 3-11. But of course, today it was the Giants that get the victory, so there is a little blue mixed in. But if we take an overall look at how this game went down, let's start with your opening thoughts. And Santana, I'm going to go with you first.
You know, one of the things I watched this game, and when it came down to the last part of the game, I found myself cheering these guys on. I understand there's no moral victories in this sport, but at the end of the day, you have to tip your hat off to these guys and the coaching staff, because they show us we got the week for the last few weeks that they have so much fight left in them. And you got to think about it. So many guys out there on the defensive side who you don't even know of. Yeah. I'm sitting there trying to find guys' names because I'm seeing new numbers, and they still in this ball game. So I just tip my hat off to the fellas, just knowing that what it took for those guys to go out there and play a game like they did today.
Yeah, and what does this game mean for the future? There's a lot of good that happened. There's some bad. We'll talk about both. But Dwayne Haskins had an amazingly efficient game. The Giants played this game from the start most of the time with one deep safety. Everybody else up to stop the run to dare Dwayne Haskins to beat them with his arm. And what did he do? He beat them with his arm. And the top 4 receivers were all rookies. That's one of the things that went well today that bodes well for the future.
As I look at this game, I have many thoughts, okay? I look at the offense, and a lot of guys that are playing on offense were not playing early on. But the offense seems to be getting better and better and better every week. I look at the defense, as you stated, Santana, there are a lot of guys that we don't even know. But I still think the front, the defensive linemen and the linebackers should be able to hold up a little bit for them before they get to the secondary. I saw a defensive front fight, battling double teams as we talked about early in the show. But I also watched linebackers get blocked, not make plays over and over again, and I didn't see any changes in it. So as I look at this football team, I look at this year, and I've been left with the thought, got rid of the thought of what they could do this year.
Yeah.
I'm on to next year. And as I look at a lot of young players on this football team, I am thoroughly impressed.
Yeah.
So, yes, you're upset about them losing, but they scored 35 points on offense.
Yeah.
You can't give up 35, and I think when Daniel Jones threw his 5 touchdowns today, he'll be happy. Yeah. But he threw it against, like you said, no names.
Yeah.
But Dwayne Haskins, Case Keenum came in. Those guys were very effective. And I look at my man, Kevin O'Connell. Mm-hmm. He showed some enthusiasm today. He showed a lot of creativity. Mm-hmm. And as I look at this offense, I'm happy as hell. I look at a lot of people on defense, I'm happy. But I just think that the path on defense has to be changed.
Yeah, when you talk about the secondary, really it was entirely made over from what the plan was to beginning of this season with three of the players in the secondary, names that, as you were saying, Santana, you had to look up there. If we do, though, talk about the offense and what they put together, this is the first time they put up over 27 points in back-to-back games since week 10-11 of 2017. This offense has been very anemic, and you didn't have to wait for it. Now, the Giants, to your point, Brian, on defense, were able to march down the field and score as well. The first 5 drives of the game resulted in a touchdown. But you can also say that the Redskins were a big part of that. Santana, looking back and looking at what Haskins did, this was the test that a coach, look, he's going to be compared to Jones for the remainder of his career, as is Jones. Jones, yes, had himself a day. Dwayne, unfortunately, unable to finish. But Dwayne finished 12 of 15 different passes, 133 yards. He did have 2 touchdown passes. What did you see from him in this first half when he was there out on the field that gives you confidence in his game going forward?
Well, I just see a kid that every week that has showed us progression, and he showed us that he was going to progress week after week regardless of what it is that we was asking or we had question of him. He was 9 for 9 at one point in time in the game, and I was sitting there saying this guy's on fire. One of the flaws that I saw in him in the game that I think caused him getting injured was holding on to the ball too long at times. But besides that, he was efficient. He found the open guy, and he made sure he got the ball out of his hand on time most of the time. So I see a guy that just continues to progress and show us and give us more hope and reasoning why he's the guy for the future.
The rookie's caught 20 of 29 of his passes, Trevor. How hard is that for a rookie quarterback and rookie receivers to get in sync?
It takes time. And that's one of the reasons his first meaningful playing time this year was against these Giants in September when he came off the bench, got a bit more than a half in, and he threw 3 interceptions. He wasn't sure what he was looking at. There wasn't any chemistry. But as time went on, he recognized more. He had more chemistry with his receivers. And as he learned more and became more comfortable mentally making quick decisions, his physical technique became better because he was able to focus in on that a little bit. And so I think in this game, it was almost 100%. Fantastic improvement from when we first saw him against the Giants to today against the Giants. It's just that one thing, Santana, is the clock in his head needs to go off more quickly. But here's the thing. He still got better at that. Much better. Quicker decisions, ball out. Now, unfortunately, the one time that he held onto the ball too long in the pocket, that was the time that he got hurt. But that shouldn't obscure the fact that he is better and quicker and more decisive in the pocket now than he was even a few weeks ago.
And I think when you look at it, Kevin O'Connell understands Dwayne Haskins. They got him into a rhythm early. They got a little up-tempo. And I think that is what you need to do with a guy like that. And you watch that arm that he has, he is, boom, he start popping that thing. He could get the thing moving. And you get a running game going with it, it's great things that can happen. So, listen, I know fans are upset, but as I look at this thing, I'm looking towards next year. And I think next year we can look forward to a lot of good stuff.
You talk about Kevin O'Connell, and I think we've seen a little bit more as we've gotten to this point of Dwayne taking over, what kind of an offense he might run. I mean, Callahan made it very clear when he took over, he wanted to run the ball. He wanted to grind it out. He wanted Adrian Peterson to get a lot of the carries. Haskins come in since Santana, and as soon as, if we do have him, we will hear from him. We'll also hear from the interim head coach when he does take to the podium as well. Haskins comes in, he wants it a little more up-tempo. You see them on first down throwing it a little bit more. How do you think that the system that Kevin's trying to put in maybe is of him and is helping Haskins?
Well, one of the things I can say, I think you can get Bill Callahan's offense has allowed his offense to really be in an offense this second half of the season. I played in an offense where we ran the ball first, and we found ourselves in more games. We found ourselves winning those games. You saw earlier this season, you saw some seasons before that, you can't get past that. You can't win like that, especially, if you're trying to establish a run game or you don't have a run game. So what Bill Callahan has showed that we can pay close attention to detail, run the ball, and still find our guys out there on the outsides. You had 3 rookies that had 5 or more catches this game, and you saw the efficiency from the quarterback. So I do believe in if you abide by some of the things that Bill Callahan believes in, by running the ball, you can be efficient in this league. You can be successful. And you see so many other teams in this league being successful by adding that fullback back in. I understand where everybody's going. Everyone wants to be pass happy. But if you don't have those guys in place, you can't do everything that everyone else is doing.
Guys, another thing I loved about the offensive performance today was not that they made plays, but it's when they made plays. Nate Orchard, a guy they signed off the street, defensive end linebacker from the University of Utah, blocked a punt. The Redskins get it down close to scoring position, and what do? They punched it in. They made the plays in the moment they had to. Then they're down a touchdown in the final minutes. They have the ball in their own 1-yard line. They're 99 yards away from tying the game. And what do? With their starting tackle, Moses, out, and with their starting quarterback, Haskins, out, they drive the ball 99 yards and tie the game at the end. I mean, that was plays being made in the moment that they had to be made. So it's one thing to get some yards and to make a play here and there. It's another thing to do it when you have to. Now, they didn't win the game. They lost it in overtime. Right now, we're talking about the offense. We'll get to the defense in a bit. But the offense, especially the young guys, really showed a lot of promise.
At one point, the creativity, we even saw Kelvin Harmon throwing a pass. At first, I was like, wait, is he playing basketball? It looked like he was just lobbing that up. I mean, but you had to get something going.
That's the thing about it. You have to give yourself a chance. And the problem with so many coaches, they get caught up in their scheme instead of the talent that they have. And when you have multiple talents from different type of guys, you got to find a way. If you can include it in the game without going out your way, that helps your team out. And tonight, I think they did that in a huge way. So, but defensively, we got to find a way to do a little bit more than we've done, because over the last few weeks, offense has been ascending, defense has been descending.
You talk about, okay, let's go back to defense then for a second. You talk about the secondary and how they're calling guys off the street. What's the best to do when you have new guys coming into a mix and you're going up against this team? Is it better to try and play man? Do you play zone? What do you do with guys that barely even know each other's names?
You have to get home with your front seven. You have to really get home with your front seven. You have to make sure that those guys up front are setting the tone. And you saw time and time again, especially those first two drives, that, you know, the New York Giants had their way with our front seven. And a lot of that, what we spoke about in the pregame show, is our linebackers being lost some time in coverage. So you have to really rely on those guys up front. Hey, we understand it's not easy for you to go back out there and play against the guy across from you and dominate them all the time. They're getting paid just like you are. But someone has to get there, because you know what you have in the back end. And when those guys are guys that you have to think twice about calling their name because you don't know them, half of the time, like we're doing these past few weeks, you have to make sure you make a play or two for them, because you have to save them at times.
And when you're not getting home with the pass rushers individually, the problem is that you don't have a lot of options when the secondary is like it is.
Yeah.
They don't have enough talent left to run man coverage. They're just signing guys off the street and plugging them in. Those new guys don't have enough chemistry with each other, enough knowledge of the defense to run zones the way they really should be run. And so if you blitz and you leave man coverage back there, if you don't get there super fast, you're going to get a lot of those new guys torched. Yeah. If you sit back and play zone, you take away the ability to outman them on the pass rush. And so they're going to get torched anyway, because the receivers will have more time. That's why it's so important that the individual pass rushers get there.
Yeah.
All right, Jones seemed to have a little bit of time in this game as well. It didn't seem as uncomfortable as you thought he would have been as well to help them out. Let's now bring in our Redskins insider for his take. This is printed by Oarsman Automotive of Virginia. JP Finley joining us now. JP, first off, let's get to the news of Dwayne Haskins Jr. Do we know anything further about the injury, what it was, the extent of it?
No official updates yet, Julie. In the press box during the game, the Redskins PR department said that he had an ankle injury. He was questionable to return. We saw him come back on the sideline. He was moved to doubtful to return. I basically think if Keenum went down, the Redskins had no other healthy quarterback on the roster, so Haskins would have gone in. My guess is there would have been a lot of handoffs to Adrian Peterson if that happened. I did watch Dwayne Haskins walk up the tunnel and into the locker room right here, and he looked to be limping, but he didn't seem to be in bad spirits. I wouldn't be shocked if he's able to go next week. Remember, he had the ankle injury against the Packers 2 weeks ago, so this might be a recurring thing. We have not gotten any sort of confirmation. When Bill Callahan talks here in a few minutes, that will obviously be among the first questions asked of the Redskins coach. I am sure they brought Haskins inside. I'm guessing there was an x-ray. I'm guessing they gave it a thorough examination, and to bring him back on the sideline where potentially he could have gone in, it would have taken a really serious sequence to get him on the field, but that bodes well for next week in Dallas. But big picture, Dwayne Haskins was on fire early on in this game before the injury. This season is lost, but his development, the rookie quarterback's development, has become the most important thing. He looked fantastic today before that ankle injury. Is another reason for Redskins fans to be optimistic about the 15th overall pick.
I'd like to ask you a little bit about this, because at the end of the game, they get that touchdown. They have the opportunity to go for two, and we know that they're not afraid to try to do that. Why did they elect to go for the field goal instead of trying to win the game?
Personally, Julie, I think it was a terrible decision, and you can look at that two different ways. I'm not even going to go to the draft position stuff yet. Let's just start here. The Redskins offense had just completed a 99-yard touchdown drive. Case Keenum and the offense had the momentum. A two-point conversion wins this game. When you go to overtime, it's a coin toss, and you don't even know that you're going to get the ball. Sure enough, they go to overtime because they kick the extra point. They go to overtime. The Giants win the toss, get the ball, and drive down the field and get a touchdown. The Redskins never even touch the football. Go for two, attack success, go win that game. I think that on the baseline makes a ton of sense. Add in the fact that you're 3-11, going against another 3-11 team. This isn't about a playoff bid. I could have understood it. It would have been a different situation if this was, hey, we're fighting for our playoff lives. We have to play it safe. We like our chances in overtime. That wasn't this situation. You're 3-11, go win the game, go for two.
Let me ask you now about the defensive side of the ball. We haven't spent a lot of time talking about it up here. We're kind of looking to 2020, and there's some bright spots on offense, but defensively, there's so many holes. Is there an easy fix for this team there?
Nope. The secondary is a mess. It's only a matter of time until Josh Norman gets his release, and that frees up some money. I think depending where this draft pick comes in, and we're all still kind of got our other eye on this Miami-Cincinnati game to see what happens, but the Redskins are in good position for the second overall pick by losing to the Giants. Obviously, if you land there, you take Chase Young. The guy is a star. He could be a game-changing pass rusher in this game. If they fall, though, if they get into the 5th pick, the 6th pick, who knows what happens? I think they've got to look for a star corner. You look at what some really, really good physical corners are able to do for some of the best defenses in the league. You look at what White does for the Bills and Lattimore does for the Saints. I mean, these guys can be difference makers. You need a star corner, and then you need health from the rest of these guys. And then your pass rush has got to be better than it was today. You're without Ryan Kerrigan, but they didn't consistently get pressure on Daniel Jones, and they need a big upgrade in the middle of the field. I don't understand why Monte Nicholson, with all the off-field stuff, has remained as the starter. He's not good in coverage. It's been a consistent problem. The defense needs a lot of new pieces. I also think they're going to be playing a different base scheme. I think they'll be playing a 4-3 next year under a new defensive coach. So a lot of changes have to happen defensively.
All right, thank you very much, JP. We look forward to whatever reaction you get as the season does wind down. So many decisions yet to be made and so many holes that need to be filled as this team loses yet another game, especially to a division foe.
Thanks, Julie.
When we come back here on Redskins Postgame Live, our overtime crew will be signing over as soon as we sign off. So you're going to want to stick around them and their reaction. And then also we have the image of the game. Charles Matthews is drawing that. And wait till you see who is rolling up right now with us, Steven Sims Jr. What does he have to say about the day that he's made, the impact that he has made on offense, and just how tired is he after all that work he's been putting in? Dwayne Haskins Jr. had a great day to start, unfortunately had to leave to injury. We'll get an update on him as the show does go on. Stay with us here on Redskins Postgame Live. Time to take a look at your game stats presented by Volkswagen. No, the Washington Redskins did not this one, but to look at the points that they put up. The passing yards from Dwayne Haskins Jr., Case Keenum had to come in and finish it off. Not as many yards on the ground as they would have liked. Adrian Peterson, though, did find the end zone for 111, moving into sole possession of 4th place on the all-time list. Did not turn the ball over. One of the players that did find the end zone 2 times over is Steven Sims Jr. This is our one-on-one interview presented by your Washington, D.C. area GMC dealers. And Steven Sims joins us now. Very honored to have you up here, and we have to tell you this for a while. Many people, especially Brian, have been clamoring just not for you to be in special teams, but to get more into the offense. I know part of that for you is something that you've been working on for a while. What is it that had you paying more attention, I guess, to the details to be able to have the success that you found today?
Just special teams coach helping me out. Ike and those guys, we spending extra time in the study, in the film, watching coverages, breaking it down the defense. That's pretty much what helped me speed the game up.
See, when you look at this game of football here in the NFL, what is the differences you're noticing from college and here?
Everybody's fast. Literally everybody's fast. The DNs, the D-line, those guys are moving real good. I noticed that on a lot of screens I've caught. Fletcher Cox has got me pretty good, so I know that these guys are moving.
Steven, tell me something. Take me back to guys trying to make this team, right? Knowing the potential that you have yourself, your abilities, and just seeing yourself, I guess, basically measuring yourself up against all the other guys who was here. What was that thought process like before you made the team, and what it's like now?
I always tell myself, you know, you're the best. When you step on the field, you're the best player on the field. And I feel like you have to have that mindset in this league, or you lost already. You gotta go out there knowing you're the best. You gotta be confident in yourself and your abilities at every time, or you're gonna lose.
Gotcha. You, Terry McLaurin, and Kelvin Harmon were the top 3 receivers today, with another rookie quarterback throwing you most of those balls. Do you guys talk about what it might be in the future? I mean, is the future something that dawns on you as a unit, as a group?
It definitely does. We're already talking about it, where we're going to be working at, training that together in the offseason. I told those guys we got to be together. We I can't be in Houston. These guys split up. You know, we all need to be together, training, throwing together, so that time is down next year, and it's second nature.
When it comes to celebrating today, a couple times in the end zone, you've been a nice surprise. A lot of people sit there and say, like, who would have thought? I know that they've had their eye on you for quite a while, and this was the overall plan. Who'd you get to celebrate today with? Your family, everybody here?
Yeah, my son's here, my sister, my niece, my best friends, two of my best friends, my mom and my dad.
And that celebration dance, have you been working on that for a while?
I've known that dance all my life. You know, that's a Louisiana dance, so I'm just supporting all my family back home.
Represent.
Yeah.
But I talked to your mom and dad in Miami, and I was like, where did he get the speed from? Your dad said me. Your mom said, no.
No.
It came from me. Where did it come from?
Definitely think it came from my mom. My dad always talks about, I did this and that, but he has nobody to vouch for him. My mom has a lot of people to vouch for his speed.
You know, in Kansas, you basically played one position. What's been the challenge as you've tried to come in here and be able to learn to do more?
Just, you know, you have to, it's like school, you know, you have to set aside the time to study your play, study your film, study your defender, study the guys that you're going against every week.
When you study the defenders, what do you study?
Just any little tip I can get. They signals for their coverages, or you know, one guy in particular. I'm gonna look at what's his strong hand, how he like to jam, what makes him comfortable, what makes him cover guys, and I try to attack those.
Me and B. Mitch been one of the guys like Julie just talked to you about earlier. We've been one of those guys that have been pushing to see you more as an offensive guy than just a special teams guy. I was just looking at your stats. I think after tonight you'll have over 300-something yards and 3 touchdowns. You was humble last time we spoke to you about having more. Now that you have that opportunity, what it's like for you to say that, hey, I don't want to let this go and I want to have more of it?
You just continue to work, continue to prepare like I'm the backup, like I don't have a starting job yet. Just continue to work with that same intensity that I had when I was Trey's backup.
But I know you ain't trying to let it go, though.
No, I can't let it go. No looking back.
What can you tell us about the work habits of Dwayne Haskins Jr. from what you see from him at practice, what you see from him in the workroom, to what you're seeing on the field as well?
Oh, it's translating very well. You see him trying to be more vocal, take control of the huddle. He's definitely been doing that. Today he kind of raised his voice at us a little bit, but he does that throughout the week at practice, and it's great to see him step into that leader role and embrace it and lead the guys that are even older than him. Big Pen, 13 years in the league, and he getting them right in the huddle like, hey, shut up, you know, things like that. So it's great to see that.
I noticed over the last few weeks you all have gone more up-tempo, allowing Dwayne to throw the ball on first downs. I always ask for do things when a defense isn't expecting it. Mm-hmm. What have you seen with the changes in the offense?
When we throwing it, it seems like we're unstoppable at times, and it's balance. It's helping the run game. Those guys are having great games. The O-line's blocking very well, and we're just it's a very balanced offense. I feel like the play calling is 50-50, and we're doing great.
It's 3 rookie wideouts in this meeting room, and from day one, basically Terry had to be that leader. I know we're giving you guys a lot of credit, and I was just speaking to all of us up here talking about Ike Hilliard. How much credit goes to Ike for what you guys has been displaying all season long?
I give him all the credit, but you know I feel like he doesn't get a lot of credit. Yeah. But you know Ike does. He tells us like I've learned so much just in the last couple months. Like it's unbelievable. Like just the things that he teaches me about where you're supposed to catch the slant, where you're supposed to catch the seam. Those are things I never knew coming before I got here.
So that's not just catch the slant, where you're supposed to catch the slant. Now what does that mean?
2 yards inside edge of the numbers, or 2 yards less. So pretty much if you catching it any more than a split closer to the hash, you're going to have a headache.
We don't want those, do we? If we do, I've got a couple Advil for it. So every game that we have a sketch of the game. Charles Matthews draws that. So right now he is drawing you for this game because deservedly so. You found the end zone a couple of times. That is going to be put on paper. Charles Matthews there with his holiday spirit drawing it. We'll make sure we give you a good look at this when it is done. Steven Sims Jr., we appreciate you stopping by up here, getting into the end zone. And look, when you ran that one back on special teams, Brian Mitchell, we were so excited for you on that. But nice to be able to see your role growing on offense as well. Keep it up. A good young core on offense getting together for the Washington Redskins. We know this season's not a postseason, but maybe next season there is more to play for. Thank you very much for joining us up here. When we come back here on Redskins Postgame Live, We have more to get to. We're going to talk about Saquon Barkley, why the Redskins on defense have struggled a little bit to try to slow down the run in Osco. More on the status of Dwayne Haskins Jr. The injury report is brought to you by Chase & Boscolo Injury Lawyers. Dwayne Haskins Jr. comes out from the half. That first play in the third quarter, injures his ankle, ends up getting carted off the field, but he does come back to return to the sideline to hang out with his teammates while the game finishes. We'll keep you updated on whatever injury that is and the extent of it. And then just 2 plays later, Morgan Moses, he goes down. He walks off the sideline himself. He did not return to the game. That was a bad 30 seconds for the team, Trevor.
It was bad because it was a very awkward sack that caused that injury. You had a player behind him pulling him backwards over a player who was pinning his legs. So that was a real problem. And I'll be interested to see what Coach says about the nature of it, because when you look at where the bulk of that dressing was, I'm assuming there was ice underneath it. There was some kind of on top, and then there was some going up high. And the higher it went, the more my eyes got big and went, oh no, let's hope that's not a high sprain. I don't know what it is, but I can't wait to hear what Coach Callahan says about it.
Last week they called a low hit on Ryan Anderson, and he hit a guy in the butt, and they called him hitting the guy low. That initial contact came at the knee of Dwayne Haskins.
He dove down.
And I don't understand why I sent a tweet to Roger Goodell and the NFL, and I'm asking him, what's up with the inconsistency of your calls? You make this league look like it's Bush League. They can't be consistent. They call things on and off. And I'm not trying to say that has nothing to do with the game, but if you're going to protect the players, you must have those zebras doing the right thing over and over again instead of one game is this, one game is that. It seems stupid to me.
I don't want to get into this discussion about the penalties and with the Redskins, but it seems to me it's just always against the Redskins. We're either going to get the calls or get the bulk of the calls called against us. So it's just one of those situations. And you was right, because I was thinking the same thing. I was in the suite and I'm watching, and I'm like, it was just a week ago that we were sitting there throwing stuff because we saw what Ryan Anderson did, and he got blamed for unsportsmanlike contact or whatever you want to call it on the quarterback. So I think, like you just spoke on, there has to be a little more consistency behind some of these plays, man. And it's a shame that we have to be talking about this today.
But see, I like it that they're trying to move towards calling penalties in a way that will protect players. I mean, there were a lot of defensive players, especially, that complained when they started taking away places of the quarterback you can hit. Well, you can't hit him up high. You can't hit him down low. Where can you hit the guy, right? Well, this is why they do that. What happened was Marcus Golden came around the right side, and it was a coverage sack. I mean, there was nobody downfield that was open, and Dwayne held the ball, and moved a little bit to his left. And then when Golden came off of that block, he dove into Dwayne Haskins' legs, like literally hit him in the calves and then ankles down low. And when he got pulled over the top of that, that's when he got hurt. They're trying to take away that low hit. And so people that complain about you're taking a hit out of the game, yes, because those kinds of hit takes players.
But they have to call it. That's the thing about it. When you don't call it, you're saying it's okay.
Well, we'll have to see what further review or report does come out of this hit, and if any questions are asked. But now let's go from the head coach, the interim head coach. Here's Bill Callahan.
Okay, really tough loss for our team. In overtime, it was well fought. I was really proud of our guys, the way they came back. Fought through a lot of tough adversity. Wow, I thought we had a real opportunity there at the end. Didn't capitalize on it, unfortunately, but again, proud of our team, proud of their resiliency and their fight. A lot to be proud of.
You go 99 yards for the touchdown there. They're playing well on offense. Why no two-point conversion?
Pardon me?
Why did you not go for the two-point conversion?
Oh, I felt good that, we're going to go in overtime, and I just thought it was the right decision. Guys were playing hard, and I thought our defense had an opportunity to make a play, in the overtime, and unfortunately we didn't get that type of stop, obviously. But I felt confident that we could stop it and, get the ball back and score.
Is that one of those things, Bill, where you go into the game with a mindset, you can either kick an extra point to go to overtime and go for 2 to win, or 2, 3, and 11 teams in Week 16 doesn't kind of factor into that at all?
Well, I just want to, give our team a chance, and just, I just really felt that, at that time, we tied it. We'll go to overtime, and I just felt that was the right decision to make for our team.
Bill, can you give us an update on Dwayne, please?
I think he has an ankle. To what degree, I'm not sure. I don't know, the variables or the factors in terms of the degree of injury, but I know that he wasn't capable of coming back and playing. So I'm sure they'll X-ray, MRI, and we'll have a little bit more of an idea of where he's at probably tomorrow for you.
Bill, what did you see from Dwayne today, and how do you think his progression has come along the last several weeks?
Gosh, I thought really well. I stated earlier this week that he's come light years from where he started in Week 4 against the Giants. He was hot. I think he was 13 of 16, I believe, before he got injured. He was doing really well. He had a really good grasp of the game plan. Management of the game was great. It was just unfortunate that he got hurt when he did.
Coach Callahan, can you speak on the progression of Steven Sims, how he's progressing as a receiver as well as a returner?
Yeah, he's electrifying in a lot of ways. I just love his ability to be the slot receiver. He's got a lot of similarities to those smaller type slot receivers across the league, like Cole Beasley that I was with in Dallas, and you see the Danny Amendolas and the Julian Edelmans and players of that caliber. I think he's, possibly one of those types of players as he continues to grow and get better. But he's exciting, he's dynamic, not only as a receiver but as a returner as well.
You have an update on Morgan Moses?
Just an ankle right now. I'll know a little bit more tomorrow.
For both those guys, would you be more precautionary next week with them, Haskins and Moses, just knowing that you're not playing for the playoffs and you want to keep them healthy?
I think those guys love to play. I mean, any of these competitive players in our league, they want to play. And I think if they're able to play, they'll play, and I certainly would encourage that. So we'll get a little bit more information tomorrow relative to their potential game status.
Bill, the defense once again gave up scores early in the first quarter, then obviously couldn't stop them late. I know you need to go back and look at the tape, but what do you see as the common theme as to why this defense just really has not been able to live up to expectations this year?
I think you got to give a lot of credit to the Giants. I think number 26 is a pretty good player. He proved that today, not only running the ball but catching it as well. I want to say close to 280 total offense on his own. I mean, he's a premier back. We talked about him all week long. That was the number one goal and must for our defense in this game, was to really contain 26. We didn't accomplish that, but he's a back we have a great respect for. He's a back that you have to shut down and obviously try to make him, play. Just play one-sided or play one way in terms of the passing game. But he did a lot of great things today. We didn't make the plays we needed to make on defense against him. We made some plays, but we weren't consistent enough throughout the duration of the game.
Bill, speaking of 26, what exactly is the biggest challenge with him? Can you detail a little bit of what exactly what was the struggle in trying to slow him down?
I think when you assess his play, we had visited earlier in the week as a media pool about what his capabilities were and what he does well. And you kind of see that start, stop, burst type fashion runs that he makes. He's got great vision. He makes people miss. And, of course, he has a great feel for the scheme. And so when you combine all those aspects, that's one of the things that makes him a great back. And, unfortunately, we just didn't make enough plays, enough stops on him today. And to his credit, he made quite a few.
Bill, does there come a point, maybe you've lost a lot of games like this now, that you almost feel unlucky in these last few weeks, the way that this has kind of played out?
It's unfortunate, that we've lost these games. We've been so close. I feel like I've gotten up here several times and have said the same thing. We're close, but we haven't closed out. And you've got to win these types of games and these types of situations. And I think we're growing, we're improving, we're learning. We're a young football team, I think the team will only get better. They'll learn from these, from these situations and from these types of performances, and it will help the team grow futuristically.
Bill, we probably understand, but players and coaches only care about winning. Fans talk about high draft picks. This seemed like the absolute illustration of the complete gap between those two.
Gosh, if you were at today's game, you would think to say that there's no way that these two teams are even thinking about what you just stated. Let's give the players in our league credit, and let's understand that they're being paid professionally to perform, and they go out and they give their best efforts week in and week out. And part of that is not really caring or being concerned about the scoreboard. I tell our guys, don't worry about the scoreboard. You go out and play. Give us your best effort. Give us your best performance. Let the score take care of itself, and that's all you can do, as a player and a coach, is let your guys give them the best plan you can, help them by any means necessary with their techniques, and give them something that they can rely on and go play. When they cross that line, this is what they love to do. That's why they're professional football players. So I don't think that that concept ever enters their mindset. I don't even think they even think about it once they cross that line. And let's face it, it's a highly competitive game, and it's a physical game. So if you're focusing on something outside that realm, you're in the wrong business.
Well, there is the interim head coach, Bill Callahan. Tonight there is more football, Sunday Night Football. Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs visit Khalil Mack and the Bears. And you can get in on the action playing Sunday Night 7 for free on the NBC Sports Predictor app, with $100,000 in guaranteed cash prizes handed out every week. When we come back, we're going to hear from Dwayne Haskins Jr., who told him to stay out of the game and not go back in.
The Austin's Big and Tall Lineman of the Week, Eric Flowers. He made a number of blocks in this game that made me shake my head and laugh. They were phenomenal. One of them was where the defense ran a twist. The defensive lineman came here and the tackle couldn't help him, so he had a hand on this guy. Then the loop man came around and he knew he would be coming free, so he stabbed him out of the way with his other hand. Eric Flowers, the Austin's Big and Tall Lineman of the Week.
The O-line getting a good bit of attention today for the work that they've been doing as of late, for so many big question marks, trying to protect Dwayne Haskins Jr. He was sacked, though, at the beginning of the third quarter, but he was holding to the ball a good bit. How about that injury? Let's hear from the quarterback himself.
This shit is heavy, though, I'll tell you that. It's heavy. Boom.
Dwayne, you got off to such a hot start, and to have that happen first play of the second half, what's kind of take us through the emotions of the day?
Like you said, it started off hot. I was feeling it a little bit, and first play, second half get hurt, but everything happens for a reason. And of course, wanted to go in that game trying to win, and came up short. But looking forward to the last game of the season.
Feel like that first half is the best you've played as a pro?
Sure, but I that's normal. That's what I want to do every game. So, I did it in college, and college is not the NFL, and NFL is a much tougher game. But I was getting in a rhythm, and when I get hot, I get hot, and just looking forward to keep doing that.
Dwayne, I noticed today you and Sims were hot together. Y'all were clicking. Speak on that, because I know it's first season with him, but y'all seem to have a rapport. And you kind of know where each other is going to be on the field. Yeah,
he's just somebody who's so electric, and any possible way we give him the ball this week, we were trying to give him the ball because we know we're going to cloud Terry and play some bracket Terry. So we were hoping for Sims to have a big game, and just him and Kelvin and Terry. They're three just really hungry guys who want to get better, and we work after practice, before practice, we're talking in between meetings just to realize what we're going to do on the play, where the timing's going to be, how we're going to line up on a motion, the coverage that we're going to get, and how you want to manipulate the defender this way and set him up that way. And it's just really fun with those guys.
Dwayne, when the injury happened, did you Did you at all think that it might have been serious, or did you kind of know, all right, this is sprained ankle or whatever, it's going to take me out of the game, but it's not something too catastrophic to worry about?
I tried to go back in, he wouldn't let me, but it's an ankle, be all right.
Are you going to get MRI, X-ray? What's the next step with the ankle?
X-ray, nothing is wrong with it. MRI tomorrow.
Okay, and then as far as your game goes, was there? I know we kind of ask every week about your progress, but was there something today where something was just clicking even more so, or just where you felt like you took that next step?
I would just say, it happened last week versus the Eagles, and just that first completion. Once that completion starts, and we're finding ways to manipulate the defense and knowing what they're doing and calling great plays, and me just trusting when the coach calls. And it couldn't be one thing I could tell you is the reason why I started off the way I started off. I just know once I get in the rhythm, I'm pretty hard to stop.
Dwayne, when you first went down.
I mean, that is what a quarterback wants, right? To make sure that they're in rhythm, that they're protected, and that they have options to go to and players they can trust. It kind of seems like this young rookie core is really kind of coming together, having some fun coming together. By the way, the he that said he didn't want him to go back into the game was team owner Dan Snyder. And that apparently is what Dwayne Haskins Jr. said meant a lot to him, that Dan said, no, I don't want you going back out there. I already know you're a tough guy. I know you can play. And he said, no, sit this one out. Santana probably was smart to sit this one out, especially knowing that he was banged up coming into the game with that ankle sprain that he suffered a little bit ago.
Yeah, there was no need for him to go back out there, and especially with all the hoop and holler about it a couple of weeks ago, saying, why are they going to let this guy play again? So they didn't want to have to go through that, and just knowing that this season is pretty much over, and you don't want to have to go into the offseason worrying about getting this guy healthy so he can play his sophomore season. So he showed what he can be, and I'm pretty sure that that's not something that he's satisfied with. But I'm glad they did, tell him to sit down.
I like the reaction that he's given, and this isn't the first time that he's done that when they say, hey, is this the best part that you've played so far of your game? It's kind of like, but this is supposed to be the basic. This is supposed to be the standard of where he wants to be able to play. He wants to be able to elevate that every single time. People seem to keep being surprised by this, though.
Well, I think everyone wants to document what's going on with his progress, but I think Dwayne Haskins knows what he's about. He knows where he can get. And I know, just like he stated, college is different than the pros. But he knows if he keeps getting better, keeps getting opportunity, he can probably be that guy he was early on. And that's what he looked for. So I think most players don't want to always talk about, well, yeah, that's my best game so far. Because you'll be saying that every week. Because the more experience you get, the better you get.
Right. Well, we just need measuring sticks. That's what we're all about. What are the stats? What are the numbers to be able to measure you up by? When we come back here on Redskins Postgame Live, we're going to wrap it up. We got the Cowboys coming up next. And as soon as we sign off, the overtime crew takes over. So you can keep it locked into NBC Sports Washington all night long. Toppings for Touchdowns is presented by Papa John's. Call Papa John's on Monday for a large cheese pizza for $8.99 and 5 free toppings. Available the day after the game. So go get your Papa John's pizza. Okay, so the Washington Redskins now close out their season at FedEx Field. They will close out the season, being the entire season, against the Cowboys coming up next week, which could be the winners of the division.
They could be. I hope they're not. Can't stand them.
I mean, you don't want any team in the
I cannot stand the Cowboys, but you know what?
We got a whole bunch of fans that are against the Cowboys back here.
They just have to continue getting better, and I think the whole thing about this is getting ready for next year. This is all about 2020. We saw a lot of young guys take a major step today, and let's see them continue doing that.
It's all about finishing strong. I mean, regardless of what that record states, just finish strong as an individual.
You think Bill Callahan's done enough to be considered as the next head coach of the Redskins?
At least an interview.
Yeah, at least an interview.
He should get at least an interview. I thought he's created stability out of chaos.
Yeah, I hope if they don't bring him back as the head coach, bring him back as the offensive line coach. Not sure if he's going to want that, but you have to keep him in house.
Just bring another D coordinator in here.
All right. Well, thanks for joining us here on Redskins Postgame Live as the Washington Redskins do fall to the New York Giants. 41-35 is the final. As soon as we sign off, keep it locked in because Overtime Live is taking over. Get their takes on today's game. Thanks for joining us out here. We close up the season from FedEx Field, but we'll see you in 2020. Boy, this season flies by fast. Have a happy holidays.